What's your name?
Sidney Morse.
What's the basis of all of your knowledge on Roe?
I participated in National History Day 2009 and I did a project on the Roe v. Wade trial, specifically following the life pattern of Norma McCorvey. So I put about 6 months of research into that, and I looked through lots of different primary and secondary sources, and that would be the basis of my knowledge.
Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about Jane Roe before the case and during the case?
So Jane Roe was pregnant with her third child. Norma McCorvey was pregnant with her third child when she accepted the role as Jane Roe. The first child she had kept but was being raised at the time by her mother. The second child she had given up for adoption, and when she got pregnant with her third child, she told a co-worker, she was working as a nurse, and she told a co-worker that she just really did not want to be pregnant any longer. And the co-worker said, well, why don't you have an abortion, which at that time was illegal, and Norma McCorvey didn't actually know at that point what an abortion was. So it was explained to her, and she was unable to find a safe environment to have an abortion. And she was referred to Sarah Weddington, and I think it's Linda Coffey, who she went to lunch with. They had been unable to find a woman to be the plaintiff in their case for the right to abortion. And they said that they would very much like to work with her. So Norma McCorvey accepted the surname of Jane Roe because in the conversation that she had with Sarah Weddington and Linda Coffey, they talked about a woman who they referred to as Jane Doe, who had died because of an unsafe, illegally performed abortion, and that name made her uncomfortable, and that's where the name Jane Roe was settled on. When she changed the case, it was originally because she felt like she would be able to achieve an abortion. She thought that the case would close before the end of her pregnancy, but she did make plans to put the child up for adoption should she be unable to win the case in time. She was not present at the trying of the case in the Supreme Court, which is not tried in the way it's a regular court, but they felt that the justices would be uncomfortable seeing her. She was about 7 months pregnant at the time, and that would weigh their decision because they would be uncomfortable terminating the life that she was carrying. She also did not come to the proceedings. The court had to be retried because there were only 8 Supreme Court justices at the time that they tried the case. And when the 9th justice was sworn in, they decided to reopen the case to get a further sort of spectrum of opinion on it. She was not present at that because she was not asked to be present. She was not very close with her lawyers. When the case was successful, she was living with a woman named Connie and was not notified. She read it in about a 3-sentence blurb, I think it was, in the paper, and did not talk to the lawyers until a few years later when they contacted her about taking it publicly.
Great. And so we were informed that a few years after the case, she actually went from pro-choice to pro-life. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, it's not actually a few years. It's a pretty significant amount of time. But what happened was Norma McCorvey was working for a women's health clinic which performed and provided abortions, I think through Operation Rescue is a group which originally started as a pro-life lobbying group and which later expanded its cause as an anti-gay rights group and continues to lobby in conservative circles. So they were sharing a building with suites right next to each other. And there was lots of tension, and the cops were called many times because one group was said to be disturbing the other. So while she was working at this clinic, there was a woman who had 2 daughters, and Norma McCorvey became very close to one of the little girls. And in becoming close to that, she began to go to church with the girl's family, and her father was a minister. And in the process of becoming close with the girl's family, she began to rethink her position on abortion and her religious affiliations. So she chose to be born again with the minister of the family, and at that time not only did she renounce her position on abortion, she also abandoned her homosexual lifestyle and left her partner. She began to work for their campaigns and published a second book in which she denounced the abortion rights movement, talked about the unprofessional nature of the lawyers she believed she had worked to. She said she felt tricked into the original case, did not understand abortion, and felt used by the original lawyers. She also began to attend events at which she spoke in Washington Square protests out against abortion. It's another interesting fact that the case that went in tandem with hers, which is the Doe v. Bolton case, the woman who was Doe in that case also renounced her position on abortion, and both of them attend gay events together in conservative circles to speak out on behalf of the pro-life cause.
And why do you think the topic of abortion, specifically the Roe v. Wade case, is important to be educated on?
I think it's important because as a woman you need to be informed about your reproductive rights and the struggle either to maintain the rights as is or to change them. Regardless of your position, it is always important to be well educated. So I think it is important for youth, especially girls, to become well informed about their reproductive rights, the way they obtained those rights, whether or not they agree with the limitations set on their reproductive rights, and only in so doing can they support what they believe on a very important and personal issue. So I think it's very important that all young women become educated about reproductive rights, and since Roe v. Wade was the major case which determined the extent of reproductive rights to which women are entitled, in order to be informed, young girls need to be informed on that case too.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Are we going to stop it now?
Yes. Do you guys have anything else?